Alright guys, it's Chatterbox Reviews, coming at you guys with Salvation, Season 1, Episode 10 review. Alright, so this episode, overall, not too bad. There was a couple things I didn't really get in this one. Like, just a couple things I didn't really like with Zoe and that stuff. I thought that there were some nice, like, new kind of storylines. And I thought, the big storyline for basically this show has changed now. So we kind of got 10 episodes in, and now with 3 episodes left in the season, they're kind of changing it all around. So there's like a totally different objective. So I think it's interesting. I think this episode was a good bridge episode. I say that, quite a bit with shows, but it's true. Some episodes are bridge episodes. They lead you from the last one to the next one, and some do it well, some don't. But I thought this was an okay one. Yeah. That's all I really, that's all I can really say. I guess without further ado, we'll get into the recap. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. I think it was a good one, but just some things kind of made me mad about this. So, anyways, I guess I'll cover it in the recap. So, we started with Cal. Oh yes, and also, I am going chronological order, but I'm gonna mix up a few things. Because some of the scenes are taken out of order, so I'm just sort of putting the storylines together, so it's just easier to talk about. So yeah, so Calhoun swimming in his pool. We start out back at his house, and man, that guy's a big house. Like, geez, I guess Secretary of Defense, he's probably really rich, but yeah, it was a pretty nice house. So all of a sudden, he's just swimming along, and then when he tries to get out, he's held underwater by some men. They're kind of pushing him down. And then we see a man named Bennett. That's the way Calhoun addresses him. Bennett talks to Calhoun, tells him, to go along with their plan, not to object. And, he says next time you won't need a towel because, that he's going to kill him in the pool. So a big threat, obviously, kind of scaring Calhoun off. And so we kind of learn that, Calhoun is kind of being, bullied into doing stuff for this guy. Or not even bullied, like, it's even farther than that, right? So yeah, so obviously we know this Bennett guy isn't too good of a guy. And he's up to something. So then, Darius and Grace ask Claire, and Harris to get them a meeting with the president. And Grace tells them what happened to her, how she was almost killed last episode. Claire tells them the truth about the president, says she's not well, and, says that they won't make a meeting because, things are just really tough with the president right now, and, she doesn't think anything will happen with that. So Darius then tells Grace, he wants to bring the president to them if Harris and Claire aren't going to make the meeting. So he's, really dedicated to getting answers here for Grace. Then Claire tells Harris, once they leave, I think, Claire tells Harris that, there's an inner circle who are taking advantage of the president's illness, of the situation, how she's, not fully competent right now. And so she says she doesn't know who's pulling the strings at this point, for the country, I would assume. I think that's what she meant. So that's a huge deal, right? I mean, she doesn't even know who's pulling the strings for the country. Yeah, I mean, that's a huge deal, right? Like, that'd be crazy if that was, that happened in real life. So, yeah, but then she also says to Harris that she thinks Calhoun is involved within this inner circle. So, obviously, Harris kind of is kind of suspected, I think, a little bit. Because he's kind of been acting strange, but I like having now Claire on our side, telling us a little bit more of the inside stuff, because she's really the only one that's anywhere close to the president, except for Calhoun, I guess. So yeah, so we find out he's involved in the circle, and obviously we find out more later. So then Darius calls that press conference, to address the media, I guess, at Tanz Industries. He tells the truth about Project Atlas, and he verifies Amanda's story, which, I don't know, I think I don't think he really had to do that. I don't think Amanda deserved for him to to verify her story at this point. I don't really think she deserved to have the story published at all, or to have any of the to reap the rewards at all. But that's I guess part of his plan. But I think he could have just addressed the media anyways and not verified her story. Whatever. So the whole thing, he does this whole thing to get a meeting with the president because he knows, him coming out and talking about it obviously is going to spark some conversations. And right when he gets off the podium and he's talking to Grace afterwards, agents show up at Tanz Industries there, and the plan works completely. And the president wants a meeting with Darius and Grace. So that's what the agents tell them. And, I think they say, like, right now. So, yeah. So that's a big thing there. Really, just shows us again, how sneaky Darius is and all these things about, he would be willing to do this just to get the meeting with the president. So kind of a little bit of a dick move, right? But he knows it was going to work, and it does. So then they actually meet with the president, and I just like to say that the casting choice for the president was good. The actor played Deanna from The Walking Dead, so anyone who watches that, so I recognized her right away, of course. She was a pretty big character in The Walking Dead, season like the end of season 5, season 6. So that was a cool little casting choice there. Even like when she was talking, I didn't really believe she was the president. Like I just saw her as her Walking Dead character, and it's sometimes hard to do that with shows, right? When you see an actor from another show and you're so familiar with that role, it's hard to see them in anything else. So with Bryan Cranston with Breaking Bad, that's a good example, or Andrew Lincoln with Walking Dead, right? So it's tough, but anyways, yeah, that was a cool thing. So basically, she's the president. So president, doesn't know anything about Project Atlas. She tells them, and she says, the people that did it, and they must have even hid it from her because she doesn't know. And obviously, at this point, we kind of believe her because she is ill. I don't know why she would lie about it, stuff like that. So Darius and Grace are kind of finding out that she doesn't even have control over things right now. And she tells them that there must be an enemy within the White House. I think she says, I fear the enemy within is like the most dangerous or something along those lines. So obviously, that's pretty crazy because she's the president and she doesn't even know who's doing this. So creates some mystery. And then we also see, that she asks them what day it is. She's, kind of in and out, right? She doesn't remember everything, so obviously we see that she is in fact ill, and Claire's telling the truth. So then Tess comes to Tanz Industries for this emergency board meeting. Laszlo left his 10% stock in the company, and that's a pretty high stock, right? So, I mean, and she says that, she thanks Darius for that. And so she, now she's a part of the board. And of course we saw her earlier, and I think it was episode 4 or 5. I think it was 5 or 4 ame. One of those two we met her, so now she's coming back. And basically the board meeting is we find out that Nicholas Tanz, who we saw again, I think episode 8 or 7, episode 6 I think it was. Yeah, it was 6. So they're kind of bringing characters back. I did like that this week. So we find out that Nicholas bought up a woman's shares for double what they were worth, and now is he has a large spot on the board for Tanz Industries. And the whole board meeting is because he's calling for Darius to be removed as CEO of the company, and we find out he's the one who actually called the meeting. And so it's kind of, it's never said in the episode, but I kind of believe, we're led to believe, that Nicholas wants to be the CEO. He's like taking over for Darius. I think that's kind of inferred. So really, like, just sneaky, right? Like, just like Darius, though. Honestly, like, this is something Darius would do. So yeah, I feel bad for Darius in the situation. I mean, he robbed Nicholas, right, of his asteroid or whatever, broke into his house. So obviously Nicholas is getting retribution, as he says, for what happened, and yeah, so there's more to that story, and the whole episode focuses a lot on that. So then Grace goes to find her daughter Zoe at work. She goes in. Manager tells her that she quit on him a week ago, and it was kind of surprising. And obviously Grace doesn't know that. Grace calls, someone to track her car, see where it is, and she ends up, they give her, I guess, the directions to it. So she finds it parked in some parking lot, and it looked like a rundown neighborhood, like not, nothing, like not near where Grace lives or anything like that. So kind of suspicious. She's wondering what's going on. She's probably, pretty worried. And she finds her actually making out with a boy in his car. So that was kind of interesting how she looked, and the facial expression was really good. Jennifer Finnegan was great for that. And she puts down the window. Zoe says she's done with her lies and doesn't want to talk to her. Grace asks her to get out of the car. She says no, and she tells Dylan, who's the boy in the car, to drive away. And yeah. So I don't know. It's a really weird scene to me. I think Zoe has changed so much in one episode. Like, it's literally like a half an episode, right? Last episode, she was sitting down with Grace, eating dinner, right? And the dad. And they were like all fine, whatever. And all of a sudden now, she's like making out with Dylan in his car. She doesn't want to talk to Grace. She's done with her lies. Like, I don't know. I think they sped this up way too much. I think maybe 2 episodes from now they could have done this. Because, I don't know, like, Dylan must have been telling her stuff, the truth about what's going on, and maybe that's why she was hurt, or maybe that's why she doesn't trust her mom anymore. But there's got to be some reason. Like, why is she all of a sudden changed so much in one episode? I don't know. I think it's a little too much. And I don't really get the whole storyline. Like, she goes to work at Resist, and that's what's caused this now with Dylan. So I don't know, and it's really interesting as well because Grace now knows it's Dylan, and that's going to create some tension between Harris and Grace. So yeah, that's the interesting part of this. But I don't see the whole Zoe storyline at all. I don't really get how this can change so much. So, but anyways, that's my 5 cents worth. So then Darius and Tess kind of have a moment up in the treehouse suite. They're kind of reminiscing about old times, and then Liam interrupts, and I think he's done this like a lot in the show. I love it though. He's funny. He interrupts them with news about the EM drive. So, kind of suspicious. And earlier in the episode, like maybe 2 minutes before this, we saw him, kind of saying like that's weird or whatever, and typing some stuff in the computer about it. So we kind of learned it was going on. And basically Darius and Liam, they find out that they can't send commands to the gravity tractor, and it's not responding to them. So, this is this is pretty weird, right? Because, they're the ones that launched the gravity tractor and have, put it up there, so they should be able to control it. And so Liam, asks if they've been hacked or something, and, that'd be a huge deal. But they find out, no, they haven't been hacked, but they find out that the gravity tractor will collide with the asteroid, and now, because it's on a new course, it'll collide with the asteroid, and fragments of the asteroid will land in Russia, but the US, North America, they will all be safe. So yeah, I mean, this is huge, and this is, bringing back the Chelyabinsk situation with Project Atlas before, right? It's like the same thing again. So Darius says, Tanz was conned. They were conned, basically, and the government is the one controlling the gravity tractor. They only supplied the M drive for the actual thing to work. So it turns out that the government has taken full control of the gravity tractor, basically disabling all control for them. So they've taken it over, rerouted the gravity tractor, so it's going to collide, and they can't really do anything about it. So obviously something is not right here. Right, it kind of goes along with the storyline of these people kind of controlling the government right now, the inner circle. Maybe they did it, so obviously we'll have to get some answers for that. But that's a big deal. They just launched the last episode, and now we find out that they have no control over it. So yeah, that's big. So then Harris gets call logs from the White House from his friend, and we find out Calhoun was the last one who clocked in before the call to the assassin was made. at, I think it was like 11 or something. So that's a big deal, because obviously, like, that basically says it was Calhoun who called. And Harris tells the president about it. I think he maybe even shows her the logs. And she decides that moment to fire Calhoun and make Harris the new Secretary of Defense. So, I'm happy for Harris. Great, promotion for him. Secretary of Defense, right? It's a good promotion. But then, right after she promotes him, he's saying, you will have my honesty or something. She has a moment of a lapse or something like that, and she can't remember what she's saying. She kind of collapses a little bit on the couch. So just really seeing how bad it's gotten for her, and yeah. So good promotion, but maybe not she wasn't in the right mind when she has made it. And she says other personnel are getting changed as well. So obviously, other people high up are getting fired and replaced, I guess. Harris isn't the only one. So then Harris tells her that she shouldn't make the speech to the public, and we found out about this earlier, that she wants to go on air and make this speech, tell everyone the truth about Project Atlas, truth about that Samson asteroid that's coming now, which would create chaos. But she's persistent about it. She wants to make it, and nothing that Harris can say will change it. So yeah, unfortunate, but it's what she wants to do. And also, I get her argument too. I mean, the only way to be at peace, with other nations, telling the truth and coming clean, basically, owning up to their mistakes. So yeah, it's a big thing for her to do on her part. So yeah. So then Tess, she fights for Darius at the board meeting, and she says all these things about Darius, really kind, tries to get the people to vote in his favor to keep him as the CEO, but it doesn't work, sadly. Nicholas is able to persuade the board to vote Darius out of the CEO position. So it's honestly, like, I feel bad for Darius in this moment. I mean, yeah, Nicholas had a right to kind of get retribution for what Darius did, but I mean, I think this is a little too far. I mean, this is Darius's company. Like, Tanz Industries is his, and now Nicholas is, like, we're kind of, it's inferred that he's taking over now. So I don't know. It's a big blow for Darius, and he obviously is very mad about it. He kicks over a bunch of stuff there at afterwards. He has a moment with Tess, and I think in this moment he kind of like whispers in her ear when he's hugging her, and I think that he kind of tells her what's going on, right? Because the president's about to break this press conference to the public, and yeah, so I think he tells her what's going on. He says, "Go home to your kids" or whatever. So obviously, him and Tess getting pretty close in this one, and Grace sees this kind of moment that Darius and Tess have, and she ends up leaving. So when Darius turns back around, she's not there anymore. So tough scene for Grace, right? We kind of feel bad for her. Maybe she's just trying to start. Maybe she wants to start something with Darius now, and she kind of sees him with Tess. So a little bit awkward, right? To see that, and I think Darius kind of figures that out afterwards. But yeah, big blow for Darius. Him not being the CEO, like, that's crazy. But I think obviously he'll still be on the board. He just won't be, like, the ruling member. So then Liam goes to talk with Jillian, and Mason calls him kiddo again, as we saw earlier in the episode. Jillian kind of turns him down, says we're busy or whatever, and since even last episode and this episode, kind of see Liam getting jealous of the two. He still wants to be with Jillian, he still loves her, and Jillian's kind of drifting away and spending a lot of time with Mason now. So obviously, he's not too happy with that, and he decides to kind of get back, and so he's walking away, and he calls Mason Prick, and he says that's his nickname for him. You have one for me, it's kiddo, I'm calling you Prick, or whatever. So it was really funny, honestly. I love that line from Liam, and very deserving. I mean, Mason completely deserves that one. I think it describes him perfectly. So yeah, so they kind of get in a scuffle and whatever, and then Liam kind of loses out and walks away, and Mason kind of protects Jillian in a way. But I just like to ask the question, why are Mason and Jillian a thing all of a sudden? Like, I understand the storyline. I think it's good. I think it's kind of cool to see Liam kind of jealous of them. But I don't know why they're a thing all of a sudden. I mean, back when she first came, she hated the guy. And even, like, the 2 episodes ago when she wanted to come back, she was going to be the boss of it because she didn't like him. Because she didn't agree with what he was saying, right? So why all of a sudden now are they together? Like, what changed in her mind that made her just like him all of a sudden, and him maybe even like her? Like, I don't even know if he really was that fond of her either. So I don't know. Like, I'm not a big fan of it, but I guess that's just the way they had to create this storyline. And I don't know. We haven't seen it, right? We haven't seen the scene, so maybe something happened between the two. And that's maybe why Jillian likes him, or maybe she's just off of the relationship with Liam, so now she's kind of just wanting something new. So maybe she's going into it. I don't know, but it just seemed kind of weird. So then Harris goes to Calhoun, and he finds out he's leaving town with his husband, and this is kind of like abrupt, right? Calhoun says he wasn't responsible for it after Harris, shows him the call logs and says he was the one who is the mastermind, basically. And Calhoun says no, like he's not the mastermind, and that Harris and him and like the rest of them have all been played. And he even says they're probably watching, and Harris should really watch out. And then his husband comes out and he says, "Wish him luck. He'll really need it," or something like that. So that was kind of a funny thing to say, but obviously it seems like the truth. This is a big deal, right? And Harris doesn't even know half of it, right? So Calhoun is able to get out because he's fired, right? So he no longer probably has a role in the whole thing with the Bennett guy, and so Harris is kind of left in his role. So we'll see where that goes. They're probably obviously gonna try to get to Harris in the next episode. So so Calhoun gets out, and hopefully, well, not hopefully, but he'll probably be out of the show now. I would think maybe he might come back in an episode or two, but I think he would mainly be gone. Then the ending of this episode, the president goes live with her speech, and she's about to get to the information, break the news about the Samsung asteroid, and in the middle of it, she freezes up. And it's a moment like we saw earlier in the episode where she can't get words out, and she kind of falls a little bit, and it's not good. It doesn't look good at all. And so they have to shut off the press conference. They get like Harris calls for the medics and stuff. So big deal there. And the world's in panic, right? I mean, the president, something just happened to her like this, and obviously the public isn't aware of her illness and stuff. So press conference just ends abruptly like that. And I don't know, then like right away, the next scene, next thing we know, the vice president is getting sworn in as the new president, and it's televised. So I don't think it really would go that quick. Like, they literally had the press conference of her. They see that she's ill or whatever, and she can't finish the press conference. Okay, that that is the reason she's not fit anymore. We have to name the vice president. But wouldn't that at least happen the next morning? Like, or the next day? Like, I don't know. The same night, like an hour after, not even an hour after, probably. I don't know. I just thought it was unrealistic, but like a little bit too unrealistic, even for this show. Even though there's a lot of unrealistic parts. So I don't know. I didn't really like that. I think that like it like they could have shown it the next scene, but then at least have it the next day or something, right? But I don't know. It also kind of makes sense because we know that it's a really shady deal. So maybe that's it as well. So we basically find out at the very end that the vice president is getting sworn in, and he is the guy that we saw earlier in the episode. Now, I will be honest, I didn't even recognize him. Now, the guy at the beginning of the episode, I saw him, yeah, I think he was in the frame for maybe a few seconds. And then they showed him in the end. I didn't even recognize him. The thing that pointed out to me is they brought up on the screen his name, and it was Monroe Bennett. And then I kind of remembered Bennett from before. I think they had that flashback scene. So that's where we connected, and we figure out that the vice president is the guy who's responsible basically for this whole thing, and is responsible for getting Calhoun in on it as well. So, and he's supposedly the mastermind of it all. And now we just see him get sworn in as president. So this was obviously his kind of whole plan here. And yeah, so a great way to connect it all, really, to show that scene at the beginning, and then at the very end, kind of connect that back. And that guy be the vice president. So that was a cool twist. I didn't see it coming. And yeah, so we kind of find out he's the mastermind of it all, and that's kind of how it ends. And I think Grace says, God help us all, or something like that. Kind of a funny line there, but very true. I mean, the president just went down, and now the vice president's up, and obviously they don't know the full extent of Monroe Bennett, the vice president, of what he's all doing, but it's just chaos anyways. So anyways, that I think is just about the recap for this episode, and now I'll get to my rating. Alright, so my rating for this one is going to be a 3.8 out of 5. Yeah, I mean, it was a good episode. Not a lot of stuff happened. We just kind of had the same storylines. The Zoe stuff was just turned me off. Like, it was weird. And the whole thing with Jillian, with Mason, was kind of weird as well. Seeing the whole thing with Liam kind of jealous of them was kind of interesting, right? But not interesting enough. Like, I just thought it was too weird. The way it's written, that they all of a sudden are just like, Jillian's in this relationship with Mason all of a sudden, and Zoe's with Dylan now. I don't know. It's just kind of weird. And also with this episode, I don't know if this is a good or bad thing yet, but the show has basically completely changed storylines to this like inside operation thing, right? Like the whole 9 episodes before this was all getting the gravity tractor up, saving the world, and preventing this asteroid from hitting. When this episode basically built up, so the rest of the season is just going to be about this inside operation, maybe even into season 2 if there is one. I think there will be. This show's been pretty popular, but yeah. So I don't know if I like it. If I don't, I'm not sure yet, and I think we'll maybe see that next episode, maybe even the finale of this one. We'll see if it pays off, but yeah, it's like completely changed, and you don't really see this with shows a lot. In one episode they just completely changed like the objective, the storyline. So yeah, so it's interesting. I'm not sure if I like it or I don't. Kind of leaning to don't. I like the whole thing about the asteroid, but now it's really becoming like political stuff. So I don't know. I think we're still gonna see some of the asteroid stuff with the EM drive trying to take control back, but like with Liam and Darius. But yeah, so we'll have to see what that is. Yeah, I'm excited for next episode. Honestly, I think we're gonna get some answers in who's all involved in this. I think Darius, the aftermath of him getting removed for CEO. I think there's gonna be some stuff there, and hopefully he can get it back from Nicholas. I trust Darius. I think he will somehow, some way. So yeah, 3.8, a little low, but yeah, I mean, not a lot of stuff happened. It wasn't really an action-packed episode or anything. Favorite character for this one is Liam Cole, and Charlie Rowe playing him. He's doing great. Just the way he's really the comedic role in this show. It's a show about the world ending, right? So you got to have some comedy in there to make it palatable. And yeah, he's doing a great job. I mean, the way he delivers his lines is great. The writing for him is really what brings his character out. Just the way the way his dialogue is written, the way he interacts with other people. And I like that he's kind of still involved with Jillian, but I don't know. I think that he can kind of let her go now. I think that he could have let her go after they broke it off in episode 6, but that's just me. Anyways, yeah, I just like the way he was this episode. Found the thing with the whole EM drive. So yeah, that's about it. I chose him because this episode didn't really focus on any characters in specific. A little bit maybe Harris, but with getting the promotion. But other than that, it didn't really focus on anyone specific like it usually does. This one was kind of a lot of storylines at once, a lot of characters. So picked him. He's just my kind of crowd favorite kind of character. Just a lighthearted guy. So, anyways, that is that. So. Excited for next week. Hopefully we got some more answers. And only 3 episodes left of this show. Or not of the show, but of the season. Maybe of the show, I'm not sure. But definitely I will update for if season 2 is renewed, or if it's renewed for season 2. I hope it is, because I think they have a good story here and they can continue it past season 1. And yeah, so anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this review. And if you have seen the movie Hitman's Bodyguard, please go in the channel and watch the my movie review that I made with my friend. We worked pretty hard on it, so I love to get some support and your thoughts of the movie as well. You can comment on the video. I'll have it in the link in the description, so you can go there. But yeah, so anyways, that's about it, and I'll see you next week for Salvation, Season 1, Episode 11.